question and he'll be quiet, because I don't buy that for a moment. So,
I don't either. No, he won't give up.
no, he won't. But trust me, his notebook is full. But,
Mhm.
I am going to read you this question, and this is going to be interesting. And just so you know, this is like my best friend. So it is the same mindset coming at you, except he's probably a little more analytical. Consider how rapidly technology and our understanding of biology is advancing. What do you predict in the future of human evolution as far as EVP is concerned? Do you predict an increase in those abilities in future generations?
I really, and this is just my own opinion, and I've got nothing to support it, but I really, really think that as we evolve as humans in the future, we won't need EVPs. We won't need recorders. We'll be able to hear. We'll be able to communicate with spirits passed on, and I think it'll become more of a mental telepathy type thing. But I think when I teach the CSI Psych class, people ask me, I want to sign up for it, but what do you have to do to learn that? Mostly what you have to do in the spirit world isn't what you have to learn, it's what you have to unlearn. Because all our life we were taught one way. We were taught we were crazy. We were taught we're fools. We were taught all these other things. And no, ignore that. That's a coincidence. You got to remember, coincidence. Einstein said coincidence is God's way of staying anonymous. And so the coincidence of hearing the dead speak to us, and we just blow it off that, we probably imagined it. We didn't imagine it. It's real. And I think we're going to evolve to where we'll be able to communicate with spirits passed on a regular basis. And the only ones that can't are those who just refuse to. When I give talks about I've got CSI Psy t-shirts. I go to a grocery store wearing it says CSI Psy, psychic investigator. And I'll always get some schmuck at the register that says, there's no such thing as psychics. And I go, oh, okay. What do you do for a living, sir? And the guy goes, I sell insurance. Oh, that's funny. That's really cute. No, what do you really do? He goes, no, I sell insurance. No, there's no such thing as insurance salesman. What do you really do? And he goes, what do you mean? I go, we can all refuse to accept anything. I refuse to accept that there's insurance salesmen. You refuse to accept that there's psychics. We can all refuse whatever we want to refuse. And he goes, well, that's not fair. And I go, life isn't fair. Don't tell me we don't exist, but you exist.
Right.
It doesn't work like that. And there's that's just you got lucky. And I go, wait a minute. My Toronto psychic has a success rate of 92.3%. You're going to tell me she's lucky that often? I said, that's insane. I go, during the height of the CIA Stargate program, they were running 80 to 82% success rate. Stanford University did a study on guessing, or what at Project Psi, what I call the swag system. You know what the swag system is, right? Scientific wild-ass guessing. Scientific wild-ass guessing is about 20 to 25%. My team is all well over 85 to 90%. And as I said, Angel Canuck up in Hamilton, she's got a 92.3% success rate. That's not guessing. She's just damn good. She knows her stuff. She knows it inside and out. So, there's no such thing as insurance salesman as far as I'm concerned. And every time I wear my T-shirt to the store, I've got people stop me and ask me about what's a psychic investigator? Oh, we find missing and abducted children. And you expect me to believe that? Nope, no purchase required. But I'll tell you what, the kids we brought home, they'll argue with you.
Yep.
Because they got to live. They got to go home. So yeah, I like to, and yeah, that's part of the reason I wear the shirt to the store, to stir the pot. But it is what it is.
Do you focus primarily on, well, you wouldn't know until you viewed, do y'all generally find living children, living missing children?
I'm trying to, hang on, let me pull up my stats on that real quick. The reality is some of it is recovery. When we have a missing child, the first thing that I ask the team member is, are they injured, alive, or have they passed? And then we know, are we doing a rescue or are we doing a recovery?
Right.
And 72% of the children we brought home were alive. We brought them back alive. And
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask you if I could tell people what you did for my friend.
Sure. That was an extremely tough case, and I'll explain why after you're done telling the story.
Okay. Well, I have a friend whose daughter, who is also my friend, was on St. Thomas when Irma made landfall. They had done everything they could to get her off. The airlines were charging thousands of dollars per seat, and they got the money for a ticket, and they sold the seat out from under her. So this 24-year-old was left on St. Thomas to ride out the worst hurricane, I think, in its history.
Yeah.
There were over 24 hours in with no word from her. And her mother was insane, obviously. I was freaking out. We were trying to get ham radio operators. I had contacted Chuck to say, I need to know if this child is okay. Do you have any way to give me information on where she is? And you did. She was frightened. She was trapped. She was covered by black things, black stuff, but she was alive, as far as anyone could tell. And a couple of days later, I was driving down the road and I felt her. And I messaged her mom and I said, something just shifted with her. So something's changed in her circumstance. And her mom messaged me back and said her phone just right now started sending text messages from before the hurricane. So she was out of where she had been trapped. But you and your team were able to give that mom hope because you were willing to do that. So that's why when I say, I know y'all are the real deal, I know that you're the real deal.
Well, one of the things about that, I was so glad we could help and offer some peace to you. We very often won't take a runaway case because a runaway gives off psychic misdirection, whereas a abducted child gives off psychic breadcrumbs. Mm-hmm. And as we know from human trafficking, that 70% of runaways that live on the street within 48 hours are approached by a human trafficker. We have turned down a runaway on Monday who then became an abduction by Thursday, and we take the case and we brought them home. The reality is when you're trying to pick up on a psychic energy, you sometimes lock into the strongest signal. Have you ever gone down the highway listening to a radio station and all of a sudden your radio station, you didn't touch it, but it changes channels because you're going past the transmitter because that stronger signal is overtaking your radio, and then as you drive on, you go back to the original station you had.
Yes.
And it's the same way with psychic energy. St. Thomas, when I asked them to, tune into St. Thomas and see if what you can find on this girl, the island was being decimated. It was the worst hurricane to ever hit St. Thomas. Everything was blown apart. The people were scared. The psychic energy coming off that island was unbelievable. And I asked the team, ignore the rest right now, but tune into this girl. And they did. And that's how good they are. They are just amazing.
They are.
The words can't describe how fantastic this team is. I talk about Angel Canuck. Her and I have worked cases alone because nobody else was available. They have day jobs, they have families, they have things to do, and we would just jump on a case and bring a child home, and then the others would start calling me, hey, I can work on the case now. No, we already closed it, and that's just how good Angel Canuck is. There's no. Every day my jaw drops. It amazes me. And when we get a case and I post a case, and then along comes I call the first person and they tell me what they see. Then I call the second person and they tell me what they see. I swear I'm talking to the first person again because I'm getting the exact same thing. After all these cases, my jaw still drops when they are all tuned in to the same thing. There's no way. We had a case where a 6-day-old baby went missing. The mother was murdered, and the 6-day-old baby went missing. She was kidnapped. I call them, and they go, well, this is what we're seeing, blah, blah, blah. But for some strange reason, I'm getting the name Jessica. Well, the baby was Hispanic, the family was Hispanic, the kidnapper was Hispanic. Why would they be named Jessica? I call the next person, they tell me what they see, and they go, blah, blah, blah. But for some reason, I'm getting the name Jessica. And I go, okay. And I put everything into the matrix. The matrix then spits out the profile and looks at all the anomalies. So I put out of the 5 people who worked on the case that day, 3 of them got the name Jessica. It was 2 weeks later when I'm following the cases in the news, and I get the report. The original police officer that showed up at the house, who was so blown away by seeing this mother shot dead and her baby kidnapped, her energy was so explosive, and that officer's name was Jessica O'Malley.
Wow.
And the team picked up on her energy because she was so upset at seeing this horrific crime. So these guys are amazing. There aren't words to describe just what unbelievable human beings this team is. Their humanity, their gentility, their capacity for compassion is just unmatched. I worked in healthcare for 40 years. Healthcare people are supposed to be compassionate. They don't hold a candle to this team. They are just the most beautiful people on earth. Hands down, they are just the most beautiful people on earth.
Well, I know that they were our heroes. And, I mean, it's really bizarre because that was not my child. And all I could think of was, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is even happening. And, I think that the worst, and I'm going to put this out there because I think every one of those airlines should be held accountable for that. That's a $79 flight, maybe a $199 flight from St. Thomas to Miami. And those tickets were thousands upon thousands of dollars. And
the airlines should have donated planes for that.
Yes, they should. And, but thanks to y'all, her mother did not go insane. She was pretty close, understandably.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Thank you for what you do. And we're out of time. Thank you so much for being here. I just can't tell you how honored I've been to be able to interview you and to learn more about what you do and to share what you do. You just keep that good work up and we'll keep supporting you.
Well, I appreciate that. The team appreciates that. They just love you. I know when I said, I'm going to be on Cat Show, they just, she's the greatest. And I agree.
I think they are too.
It's been a real thrill and an honor to be here tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that being said, we are out of time. We took this all the way down to the wire because I couldn't not do that, right? Thank y'all for listening. I hope you enjoyed everything that you heard here tonight. And if you have questions, Project Psi, go and check it out. You can find Chuck Kennedy on Facebook. You can find Project Psi on Facebook. projectsci.org. Is that it? Or com?